Welcome to Loving Life Creatively with Lizzie Menz, the show that dives into the heart of our community's incredible talent. Join us as we explore the world of creativity through inspiring interviews with local artists, woodworkers, film producers, aviation enthusiasts, and our cherished veterans, with live demonstrations and the countless benefits of creating. Every single episode will explore our guests' inspiring stories, celebrate their unique voices and visions in life. I'm your host, Lizzie Menz, and I am thrilled to take you on this incredible journey through the world of local artists, musicians, woodworkers, aviators, veterans, coaches, and all kinds of creative souls. Today, we are exploring the amazing world of aviation and military careers. I am extremely excited to introduce to you two of my closest brothers, Josh Gowey and Marc Van Zandt. Not brothers by blood, but certainly brothers in this thing called life. Josh, who is a pilot, has become to be a well-known staple in our community, whose mission and vision to start an air show came to fruition in 2024. Marc, who is also a well-known staple in our community, is a retired Marine who stays actively involved in pretty much everything that benefits veterans and still actively supports our country. Welcome, gentlemen. Josh,
thanks, Lizzie. Thanks for having us today.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Josh,
our pleasure for joining.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you on the show. You know, I think it was kismet that we intersected when we did in 2024 when you were working on the air show and I so badly wanted an air show, and then somebody said to me, "Don't you know Josh?" So it's just super cool that we have, I guess, gone together on this journey for the air show, and what an amazing friendship and brotherhood we've created throughout this time.
It's amazing once you start asking questions and just trying to engage with other people around that. You find so many other people similar with like interests and just other people to engage in and working together, but it just got to take the first step, and once that happened, all the dominoes came in together.
Yeah, no kidding. And same with you, Marc. It's so awesome that I got to meet you back in 2024 as well at the air show as us as volunteers running all over God's creation the whole time. So
yeah, we did literally bump into each other.
We did. Yeah. We really did. And Josh cracking the whip, so we were all in line.
Yeah, I was a little scared that day.
But if it wasn't for you two guys, there would have been a lot of things that would have never been corrected. So it's a team effort on so many fronts, and all it did was just bond us more further and make things better down the road.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, and I'm so incredibly honored and grateful for our friendship and getting to do, talk today actually on the show, and then also get a chance to talk about the Pistons and Props this year in 2025, and just to hear your guys' incredible stories. I'm super, super excited and grateful and honored to have you both here as well. I know I keep using that word honored, but I'm honored that you are sharing this time with me, because I know this is stepping you both out of your comfort zone to be on the TV show. So thank you. Thank you very much.
It's our honor to be here too.
Likewise. Thank you.
And we might have a little bit of fun too.
Yes, I think we will. I think there's going to be, hold on folks. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So, all right, so no pun intended. I'm going to say, you ready to take flight?
Absolutely.
And let's talk some things through.
Yeah.
All right, so Josh, I'm going to pick on you first.
Go right for it. Let's hear it. Let's have it, Liz.
Okay, all right. So please share a little bit about your background and what kicked off your aviation career.
Sure. Most of my background starts all the way back to when I was a little boy. I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to do scientific stuff. I was always trying to build things, launch things, throw things. And my parents saw that. They recognized that. So I was afforded a great opportunity through a fantastic group called the Young Eagles. Through the EAA Young Eagles program, I got a free flight as a child. My parents hooked me up to go try that. A wonderful man took me up in his yellow Piper Cub for my first flight. I was either 14 or 15 at the time, and I loved it so much that my parents surprised me the next month with a flight lesson. It was up in La Crosse, Wisconsin here. There was a small flight school that was there, and a lesson once a month turned into a lesson every week, and before I knew how to drive, I knew how to fly airplanes. And getting that first license really cemented the direction of life that I wanted to go with that. And honestly, most of all that only happened because of the support I got from my parents in that direction, giving me that opportunity as a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid at the time to go in that direction and go there. And that's part of the reason why even I wanted to start the Pistons and Props and the air show going in there, because I only happened because originally that my parents took that initiative, got me that free flight on the Young Eagles program, and if it wasn't for the Young Eagles program, it would have never propelled me down the life that I had. So it was a couple of small actions, some generosity from a nice man in a yellow Piper Cub airplane that started this cascade of effects all the way down with that.
That's, well, and I can attest to too, actually we all can, how involved your family still is, how the
Yep.
volunteering, all the things, and how much they support you in all ways. So it's really cool to see. It's
Yeah,
really
if you want to meet most of my family, just come on down to the kids area on the Saturday of the Pistons and Props, and we're going to have my sisters, my brother-in-laws, my nephews in there, along with my parents, and my in-laws all over there running that kids area.
Oh,
Does
yeah.
your family really volunteer?
It is definitely a voluntold situation on many things, yes. But it's family. Family helps family. And in a time of need and something like that, everybody knows how much time and effort we've all put into it. So there's really no ask. It's just they show up. They make it happen. They know it needs to be done, and they do it.
Well, and honestly, you being the pilot of our air show as well, I mean, you also exude that to all of us. I mean, you have created a family, and all of us, board of directors, and I know, later we'll kind of dig into that, but Josh, really, I mean, you are at the helm. You are the one that has put all this together, and throwing that energy out there to be creative and find all of us so that we can work together as a team. I mean, you're the pilot of all of that, so we really appreciate you. I don't know if anyone has ever told you that, but we really, really appreciate
And quite
you.
honestly, Josh, the reason you succeed is because you have a vision. And creatively, this is it's a big vision for you and for us. And because of you being a true leader and believing in the vision, this is why we succeed.
Yeah, and
Honestly.
from my perspective, though, too, I can only exist because people like you exist. There's always a co-relationship in everything that has to be done. The hardest thing most people, need to do is just get over the initial push. Once you get that initial push, you put the first step forward, the second step forward, the third step forward. If you keep the drive, you keep the momentum going, others will join and follow behind. And that's how we all got with. You join with, it just took somebody to take that first initial leap of faith, and then from there it builds. And quite often, the people who are on the top don't want to be on the top. We just end up being on the top because somebody has to keep putting that foot forward on that front.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and your parents really built that foundation for you as a kid, supporting you and doing what they did for you, helping you make your dreams come true. Now you're going to do the same thing for kids at the Kids Activity Center and all of that. So, I mean, it definitely comes full circle.
It does, yeah.
Really?
Both my mother and my father were two very independent people that had two distinct differences in their lives that they did. My father was a union organizer for over 30 years, and I got to engage and see what he did because his goal with that was always just trying to improve the lives and the contracts, and he was always reading and trying to find holes and gaps and how to make those contracts better for the members. And seeing that Dad work on that and drive that every single day when he came home was a great building block to add on to my mother's lessons that I learned from her, because my mother was a teacher and still is an active teacher in swimming and other community things. So I got a lot of my contracts and my drive on papers and how to handle things procedurally from my father. And then from my mother's side, I got a lot of that educational aspect with the kids and engagement and how to do these educational aspects. So it was two really good building blocks that just happened to coincide perfectly for trying to build an air show.
Yes. Yeah. Quite cool. Quite cool. So what really inspires you the most about your work?
Honestly, it's that drive back to like when I first started saying that. Somebody in a gentle, a kind act gave me a small push in the right direction. And everything that we've been engaging from the day that we had our STEAM day back in April, where we had a couple hundred kids come, seeing and knowing that out of the couple hundred kids that come to that, or the hundreds of kids that will come to the Pistons and Props event, knowing that some of those kids are going to have an aha moment. Some of them are going to have that push. It might not be to the kid, it might even be to the parents that inspire them to get them to go into flight lessons. And it doesn't always have to be aviation for that aha moments. We have plenty of opportunities that I love seeing in the automotive or just the hands-on tactile careers that just need that push to go in that direction. And those kids often, just the smallest thing could be the tipping block. And knowing that our efforts are going towards that direction to do that is so great. And it's even fun now where sometimes you occasionally, even in my life, I've already come across where you meet somebody from a few years ago that had that little push, that little aha moment. And to catch up with those people are so much great. I personally would love to find that person who gave me that push almost 20 years ago now, to find them again. But, you know, opportunities change and it's hard to find those people. So knowing now I'm the one that gets to do that little push is just what makes me wake up and want to just keep working every morning.
I bet we can find a person that can find that person. I bet.
Good chance. Good chance. There should be a record of it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. That's awesome. So,
Right. Now you got me thinking about the fact I've never actually tried to find him.
Oh, well, we're going to have to do that. We'll get through the air show and then, we'll have
He's
to.
going to
we'll
put
have to
that
help
on
you.
his list as soon as
It is now, yeah. That is actually now on my
Now
list.
it's on the top of the list. Then.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, we get to see that too with your own kids. You know how you are with your kids and how you inspire them all the time. You know, I mean, I think that's gonna roll over, and it'll be cool to watch your kids grow up as we grow the air show and all the things that are gonna happen, and see what route they go. And maybe they won't. Maybe they'll be a race car driver. Maybe, who knows, right? The sky's the limit. Well, the sky's not even the limit anymore, right?
Yep.
We can go to Mars. So.
It is interesting now being the parent on that subject, because my children are exposed a lot more than the general community children, just with the amount that I'm doing and out there. So on some things like airplanes, some of my children are very interested, but some of them they've become indifferent to it because it's become a normality or a common thing in their viewpoint from their lives. Right. So the question is whether or not that will turn into something that they actually want to do or not, but it's too early to tell on a lot of that. So.
I can relate with that.
Yeah.
Both of my kids don't want nothing to do with any of the air show whatsoever. But my grandson, a whole different ballgame.
Yep.
He's really excited, so yeah, can totally relate. So, share a little bit about your creative journey.
Sure. I have to be honest, you have really opened my eyes, Lizzie, to realizing just how much creativity is in my life that I didn't realize until meeting you on that. So a lot of my journey, it really started after college. Coming into college, a lot of it too was for the first couple of years of just trying to find myself. Where was I going to go in life? In the aviation world, it's not uncommon to bounce around everywhere. So I lived in Iowa to Wisconsin to North Dakota to Arizona back to Wisconsin, all chasing different jobs, careers, different aviation positions, trying to figure out what I wanted to do on those journeys and those things. And, you know, building towards the whole Pistons and Props things too, I'd always heard a lot of things growing up, and it's true what they say, you don't tend to listen to what your parents say, but you'll hear the exact same message from somebody who isn't your parent, and that somehow clicks. And I find that now as a parent myself, turning older, that looking backwards, I had a lot of things like that. This air show, for example, I had heard it's usually not until your second or third business before you have true success, a true learning curve where you come before you really start finding that. And what most people don't know is that I started the nonprofit Propel Forward that's hosting it. That's actually my third business adventure that I've had through my life, and the learning lessons I've had that took just to get there on that front. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to share about your journey? Any bumps in the road?
There has, even today, the bumps never stop.
True.
Yeah, just I guess we'll make a good joke right with aviation and turbulence. You never know when you're going to see it, and it's usually clear and beautiful outside when you find that turbulence.
It just drops.
Yes.
Yeah.
There have been challenges and bumps throughout my entire life, and every single person that you'll ever talk to and meet always have challenges. And really, It's how you handle those challenges. And quite often, as aging myself and talking to so many other organizers or other people engaged with it, you find a lot of times you don't have the answers to those challenges. You really don't. It's how you confront those challenges, how you try to tackle those challenges, and do you try to learn from your past mistakes that really show the accomplishments that you can gain down the road with that. So for me personally, a lot of the greatest challenges going through has been family balance. I have gone through so many different positions and jobs and chasing around where it can be difficult for my wife, my children who are, chase me around, or just dealing with dad having to be gone when I have to go flying with that. So the balance is so hard and so key that is hands down the greatest challenge, because my children, my family are my greatest thing that I have. So that is the most important challenge that I'm constantly trying to think. And a lot of that is just coming down to having a good relationship with my kids, a good relationship with my wife, the communication, but making sure that I'm listening to maybe I haven't been home enough, or when I have home, maybe I'm too distracted, or what is the thing that's causing them distress, so that I can try to accomplish that. Because if I don't have that support network there at home, nothing else will be able to be accomplished fully on that front. So it's really that challenge that has been throughout the last 15 to 20 years of my professional life, just trying to constantly reevaluate. But that's the thing with that challenge. You are constantly reevaluating. You're constantly adjusting. There is no challenge that is ever a single finite, your one and done thing. You can either learn from it and grow from it and gain down the road, or you find that challenge and then you keep reevaluating it to make sure it doesn't become something that's a problem on that. And that's the biggest thing that I just want to share, is that it's that same foot. You keep putting that foot forward, even if it's not the best decision or the right decision. You have to keep moving forward on that. And then when you know it's not the best, you go back and you retry and you keep reanalyzing on that front. And you'll gain that traction, you'll gain that momentum on that. If you don't stop, can't go wrong eventually.
One of the things, and I hate to say this and compliment you again, because this is being recorded, but he talked a little bit about life balance there. He has an amazing ability to build teams, and I'm obsessed with teams. Whether it's his family team, work teams, the Pistons and prop teams, whatever, he has that creativity to build that team, help them again with that vision, and make them understand, here's our challenges. And I've met Becky, and she's amazing. She's strong.
Agreed. She is.
And
yes.
so that's one of the things that he does creatively, is he builds his teams, whether he even knows it or not. It's a beautiful thing what he's doing there. So.
And that's the most crucial thing when we're talking about challenges and teams, is there's always one or two people that are visible, but it is never just the one or two that's visible. A lot of people say, it's my event or Josh's event or things like that. That is the farthest away that can be from truth. For everything that I have to go to, from every meeting or every task that I have to do, the people don't see that I'm only able to do that, accomplish that, go to that, because my wife has sacrificed or done. So it is not my event, it is our event when it comes to some things where my wife and I are working together as a team on everything. I don't exist unless she is there making me exist on that front. And people don't ever see that, I go home, we talk through things we're constantly talking and negotiating on how we can accomplish and do things. Even today, just having this interview is a sacrifice and a decision that we had to come together as a team to decide, right? Because sitting here is time away from the family, it's time away from the kids, so it's a decision on what we're going to do in a group effort on that. And the team aspect that Mark really hits onto, I find that what most people tend to forget when they get further and further and further up into the top is just a reminder of, you were down there before, and if you don't balance, recognize, and appreciate, and that's the only reason why half of these teams have come together, is only because I keep putting one foot forward and then somebody else somehow falls in line behind me, and then you have to recircle back around to make sure you're with them instead of in front of them. And that's the biggest thing, that it's hard to remember as a leader sometimes with how busy society is, to keep going back and not being in front of them, being next to them as much as you can on a metaphorical sense on that.
Standing right
Yes.
next
Yeah.
to them,
Just
not,
like we're
not
sitting next
following
to
or
Mark.
leading. Yep,
Yes.
yep,
Yes.
standing.
Yeah,
as-
just like in everything, and that's been so vital when working with our veterans partners that we have, and that goes back to again when we were talking a little while ago. I don't want to be on the top. I don't want to be on a lot of these things that we're doing. It's just I know that somebody has to do that, and we haven't found somebody else that does, and I have that drive. I want these things to happen. So my hope is by sitting next to people instead of in front or above people, that they will continue to share in that dream, and that we can do it together instead of individually. And these teams just organically just keep forming off of that mentality.
Yeah, as the two of you are talking, I all of a sudden had this vision of like all of us just in this giant line, and we're walking all together, and just we keep cultivating new people and new people to help us with this vision and mission of what we're trying to accomplish. So
It's like a good
that's-
FOD walk.
It really
yeah,
is.
That's what
it is a good
yeah.
FOD walk.
Well, and
Yes.
originally it started with just a few in 2023, almost actually 2022 when all of this really started working. And it started a few, turned into a dozen, now we're many dozen of people.
Yes. Yeah. So congratulations to you, Josh. Really, you are probably one of the most humblest guys I have ever met in my life, and you exude that all the time. And especially knowing all of the things that you've accomplished, all the things that you do, the team that you've built at home. Mark and I get to see you with your family and how you are as a father and and a brother to us, and just this amazing president, of Propel Forward and doing all of this stuff. I mean, hats off to you.
You're the president?
I know, it's surprising.
Huh.
It really does drive into, again, though, I can't exist without my friends, my family, my teams existing. And
He can't just not be humble.
yeah.
And we love you for that. We really do.
All right. Thank you, Lizzie.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I know.
So many
Receive.
qualities.
Yes.
Receive, man. Receive. Oh my gosh. All right. So, Mark, now you're in the hot seat. Are you ready?
Good. I think I'm ready.
You think you're ready?
Yeah.
All right. All right. So, please, same thing. Please share a little bit about your background and what made you go into becoming to be a Marine.
Well, ironically, my journey started when I was a little boy also, just like you. So I was lucky, and I didn't know it at the time. All my uncles, my father, all in the military. My Uncle Bill in the Marines, Uncle Red, paratrooper, 82nd Airborne, my dad, Navy. I grew up being blessed. I was God bless America from day one, and I never knew it. And so I was completely enamored with the military from day one. When I was 9 years old, I decided I was going to be General Patton, and I had my twin pearl pistols and my long coat and walking around being tough, and that was my picture of what the military was at the time. Of course, as I grew into high school and so on, my dad helped me understand that the military isn't this romantic, Memphis Belle, sexy thing. It's something that's more than you. And that's how I grew up, was my mom and dad always talking about life is more than you. You are part of that team that I talked about. That it doesn't matter if you're the weakest link, but you have to be part of a team. You have to strive for something that's bigger than you. For me as a Marine, it's God, country, and Corps, and then you wedge family in there. Becky, you heard that. Wedge that in there. So growing up, I was always mentored to build teams, to be part of a team. I didn't realize it, though, because I was too busy being a teenager, right? Important things like buying that first piece of crap car, that in the 1965 Buick Skylark, that it was so bad that the bus would pass you, that kind of thing. But you talked about your mom and dad. The irony is my mom, teacher, 33 years, teacher of the year, 1 year for the state of Wisconsin. Hoorah. Talking about the small world, my father, who Superman's a good guy, but my dad was here. That's how big he was to me, and he was my hero. Worked at Beloit Corporation. You might even met him once in your life, who knows. But he was my superhero. He had values, and you stuck by him, and you always remembered other people first. And so with all that said, my mom and dad, completely opposites again. My dad, he's the management guy. He was a detailed guy like your dad. You know, he's going to fill those holes, every I is dotted, every T is crossed. And my mom was the artist. Second grade teacher, she could make a pin-up board in her classroom look like the greatest painting ever. You know, when I would look at it, biased opinion, of course, that was the Mona Lisa. And that's where I think creatively, that's where I got that from, was my mom. So they gave me that life balance to start out. But coming out of high school, I joined the Navy. My dad was Navy, got to do the Navy. I went as a corpsman, a medic, and I don't know how it happened, but the next thing I know, I'm an 8404 Fleet Marine Force combat corpsman attached to the Marine Corps. I woke up one morning, I'm like, how did I get here? But I was there, and it took them about 2 days to brainwash me, and I was in love with the Marine Corps. And it is, again, it's because it's something bigger than me. And that's why I'm with you guys for the Pistons and Props. It's something that's important, and it's something bigger than me. So I was in the Navy for quite a long time. And my job was to take care of Marines. And going back to the team thing, yep, they were the greatest, in my eyes, of course, the greatest team in the world. Nothing's ever been more important and greater than the Marine Corps. And I wanted to be part of the best. So when my enlistment was over with the Navy, then I went into the Marine Corps. And that's when my whole life turned on its head. That's when it really kicked in about teams and creativity. For the first time in my life, I was in over my head. I had got detached to a unit which I thought I was just going to go there and be something. I'd just be the man. Well, I wasn't. And it was probably the best attitude adjustment, to keep it polite, I guess. The attitude adjustment that I've ever had was with drill instructors telling me how unimportant I was and how worthless I was. And at that time I was, because I was in a situation in my life where I just thought I was that guy. But they helped me understand I wasn't anymore. But in reality, I was valuable, but I wasn't that valuable. So the Marine Corps helped me get to a point of perspectiveness where you could put things in perspective, like dialectically looking at the whole situation like that. But probably the biggest thing out of my military career is the immensity of the world, and knowing that how many people are in the world today? 12 billion people. What I learned from the Marine Corps and my mother and father, you guys, everybody that I've ever dealt with, is that my mission when I get up in the morning is to make every person I meet just a little bit better that day. Because the world that we live in today tells us we're just not that good. When everybody has this beautiful potential, the creativity to do something amazing. And so my mission statement, even though I don't write it out, I used to write it out on the mirror, just make people better. And that's what I try to do every day. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I never give up on it, because people deserve to realize how worthy they are. But ultimately it still comes back to, I always have that something above me. For me, it's my God and my country and my family. But I have that higher, because if it's all about you, then you implode and become a bonehead. And of us three, I'm the big bonehead here, just so you know that, but confession. But it's just been an honor to be a Marine. It's been an honor to be a sailor. My father, who passed away years and years ago, it was his birthday yesterday, so I went to visit him, and he just reminds me about how lucky we are, and we need to appreciate what we are. And he yells at me a little bit, but for the most part, he just reminds me, what's your vision? And that's why I mentioned it to you. He has great vision. Every morning, do yourself a favor. Have a mission, have a vision, a vision. You call it a purpose. Have something that you want to do that day to feel accomplished. Admiral McCraven, famous special operations guy, used to say, he wrote a book, just make your bed. Get up in the morning and make your bed. Now you accomplished something, you did something. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And thank you for your service to us and our country. Yeah.
Pleasure.
Yes.
And if I can piggyback on that, really something from those core fundamentals with the Marine Corps and everything, that leaches to everybody that I've met. The veterans that we've engaged in, we've met with, that's what inspired half of what the Pistons and Props is today, and that only became because of meeting you, meeting a lot of your Marine Corps, the VFW, and a lot of those other Army and Navy and all those other veterans that we've had, and the drive, the inspiration that we've had with that. So as a reminder too, that just making your bed and going forward and forth every day does leach into everybody else's, right? Because you guys have been an inspiration for me too. Last year, 2/3 of our volunteers, the event only really happened because the veterans stepped up.
Yes.
It's true. It only happened because we were hit a snag. We needed help, and all the veterans stepped up. I mean, they really did. They were 2/3 of our help with that, and that all comes from those cores that you're talking about into that front.
And the camaraderie that is brought to the table. And I mean, Mark, you probably have people out there that you have made a difference in, and you won't ever even know. Just having your presence and something that you told them, they will probably hang on to that for the rest of their lives. And sometimes the beauty is when you have a mission like that, you don't know. And somebody might walk back into your life and say, I met you this many years ago, kind of like you talk about, the gentleman, and I talk about the people that are in our lives, knowing that you might have made a difference in someone's life or inspired them to do something is that creative side of us that I think so many people forget. They really forget how much we can make an impact on people's lives.
And I have a real quick, you never do it for thanks. You don't do it for recognition or anything like that. About 15 years ago, I got a call from a gentleman. He said, "Is this Lieutenant Van Zandt?" I'm like, "Maybe?" You're not sure. And he said, "This is Corporal such and such." He's like, "I'd like to buy you a car." And he explained to me that he was under my command in Kuwait at the time, and that he had gone on. He was struggling in the Marine Corps, and instead of us kicking him out, I got attached to him as his mentor, and helped him stay in, and he finished his career. And he owned, I believe it was 7 Radio Shacks at that point, and he wanted to pay me back for what I had done by buying me a car. And I'm like, we appreciate that, but that's not why we did it. But it's a cute little story that 20 years down the road, you made a difference, and it was beautiful,
That's
Feels
awesome.
good when you hear those.
Yeah.
You get those
because
calls.
you're making a difference, but once in a while that tangible,
Yeah, and that huge gratitude that that he probably was cultivating all this time, right?
And no, I did not take the car.
You did not, no.
Would have been a huge step up from your 68
65,
Miata or whatever.
yeah, 65 Buick.
So, Mark, thank you for sharing that story. And, you talked a lot about your parents being, big inspirations for you and, a couple of other people. So what else inspires you the most? Like, what's the top thing?
Going back to my mother real quick, she's a huge inspiration for me. She was an artist like yourself, a painter. And I never realized how much beauty that she helped me understand and motivated me with, because I'm black and white, military guy, go, go, go. She helped me understand that You got to be, there's beauty in the world, and helped me find it in everybody, and with her creativity and so on like that. The biggest inspirations, people that inspired me, were the simple people. Gunnery Sergeant Sheedak, probably the smartest guy you're ever going to know, but you never knew it. He was quiet and he was steady. You never knew any, when you mentioned road bumps, there wasn't any road bumps with him because he fixed things and took care of people before it ever happened. He could see that. He had vision. So I was a first lieutenant, I think, at the time, and he worked for me, that's kind of a joke. I was here and he did everything, but he inspired me because he was a gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps, but it was all love. He never raised his voice because you knew he was there to help you. And he was one of probably the biggest inspirations I've ever had. Mm-hmm. So, you know, as one from the military anyway. The other one would be Staff Sergeant Elliott. Our world is filled with attacks on each other. You're wrong because you're part of this group. You're wrong because you're this group. Staff Sergeant Elliott was the epitome of what a true God-fearing human being could be. He was funnier than, he was even funnier than I am. I mean, so put that in perspective. It's amazing. But yeah, he was black, I was white, and he was like, we're all green. So he helped, in the Marine Corps, we're all green, we don't have colors. And he lived it, and those thousands of Marines that he worked with, we were all better off because it never occurred to us, ever, to judge people or fellow Marines by the way they looked, unless they were chubby, and then we're on them, right? So the true love that God could show was shown through Staff Sergeant Elliott. And both those Marines that I mentioned were quiet and strong and resilient and, dare I say, creative in how they would handle us. Because when you've got a bunch of Marines that are motivated and what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to kill, kill, kill. And then you have these soft, calming voices that had to be, again, I talk about the higher beings, and that was God working through those Marines to stabilize us. So those were probably my biggest, in the Marine Corps, the biggest motivators I ever had. So.
That's really cool, and thank you for sharing that, because I think sometimes in TV, movies and stuff, the Marines are depicted to be this loud, screaming, swearing at each other all the time. So it's really inspirational to hear that there's a good mix of people too. Which I know some more. I guess I suppose I can't speak too eloquently over them because I probably don't watch war movies that often. But it just always seems like Marines are always depicted to be that. So it's.
And I do have to say, Face, real quick. Make no mistake about it, we are the greatest fighting force that has ever occurred and ever existed on this face of the earth. God rest anybody's soul that comes up against us. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because I'm going to hear about that.
Duly noted.
And here I was, I thought it would be the food. If you're all green, you just got to change your diet.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
Pass
the dried eggs.
Yeah, I think piggybacking off what you were saying, Lizzie, on the perception, I think a lot of people forget even when we look across the whole world, we're all humans. We're all people. Everybody always forgets, even from somebody who's down to somebody who's up. We all have our own dreams, ambitions, and our own goals, and that's where the public perception forgets that we're all humans on that front. We all have those qualities, the same qualities, the same abilities on a lot of those fronts. And that's, hearing that is nice to hear that. And then the perception just needs to change on so many fronts. And the simple answer I usually find is just remembering that one key factor on a lot of things.
Yeah, and we're in this life together.
Yeah. And we all want, honestly, if we all could just talk, we all have the same goals. We really do. Usually. We want happiness. We want our family to be happy. We want to be comfortable. We all have the same goals, and we could learn from each other if we can block those walls and break them down. And sometimes it comes back to creativity and how do you do that?
Yeah.
I want to learn from you. You know,
Yeah, and understanding somebody else's perception of the world and what they want to accomplish. And sometimes not everyone has the great ability to have conversations either because they grew up in a world that maybe they weren't able to talk. And we all bumble through that, too. That's my favorite word when sometimes I have things that I want to share and I don't even know where to start. So, having the two of you around, I can bumble through it and we work through it. And all of us need to give each other grace for that because we are bumbling sometimes through life
Oh, yeah.
together.
The higher you get up the pyramid, the more you find out half the time those people don't know what they're doing to begin with.
Yeah.
But the key thing is, like you're saying with the bumbling, especially when you look at it, some people have advantages, some don't. The biggest thing for everybody is you just gotta start. It doesn't matter. Just start. That's the hardest thing to do. Yeah, just that first step.
but you shared a beautiful word, the word grace, right there.
Yeah.
We are graced. We are so graced
And grateful.
and grateful. It's important to share that grace. Help them understand whether it's just your grace from you to you, my grace to you, or God's grace. Show people grace, and they'll run with it because everybody needs that. So that was a beautiful word that you brought up there.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you.
powerful word.
That's,
very
I'm
powerful.
trying not to burst into tears, so we're just sometimes I leak on the show, guys, just so you know. Yeah, thank you. Thank you both, too. And what an inspiring story to share with the community, with everyone that's going to watch this, too. And I really hope that people take this to heart because we are all of us, we're in this world together. We really are. So, Mark, I guess share a little bit about the good and the bad and the ugly.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Well, we might already had the ugly. We already talked about food.
Good point. Good point.
Right.
Good point.
Agreed.
The good about the military is the schools and the fun. You can have undescribable fun in the military world, whether you're learning how to swim, how not to swim, how to be taught not to do something, jumping out of airplanes. You guys are scuba divers, those kind. There's so many opportunities to do great things that in the civilian world sometimes you never even think about doing. Like, why would they do that? Oh, that looks pretty fun. Let's do that. You're gonna pay me to go do that. So there was always a new challenge, and then I was ultimately just the average Marine. Then there were so many things to be better at, but it always gave you the good part about there was always something to go to and strive to be better. And so I always loved that about the military. It was endless amounts of opportunity. You just had to go after it. And honestly, the fun, the camaraderie, the brotherhood, it's beautiful. I won't leak or cry like you say, but it is. Ultimately, that's the best part of the military, and it truly is. And some people, I feel bad for them because they never feel that true part of a team. And the military always offered that for us. And then, of course, the travel. How blessed am I to have traveled around the world for perspective? Perspective helps you with perception. One can argue everybody's perception is their truth, even though it might not be right, it's the truth to them. So as I got to travel around and try to be myself in Thailand, well, that didn't work out. So you got to reel yourself in,
Right.
I'm normally the quiet, meek guy, but or
That's hard to believe.
Right.
That's very hard to believe.
first lie on TV. But the challenges of traveling, Trieste, Italy, we've talked about that before. The challenge is not to gain any weight because the food's so good, but the people, it helps you understand everybody's beautiful. They really are amazing people. You just got to talk to them. It really is.
I can't help but encourage people to go out and because the United States is fantastic, but you'll find out that we're on a beautiful planet, and there's so many other fantastic places too. That and the people there have such different perspectives that you didn't even know you could think about, especially when it gets to things that on the creative aspect. It really makes you grateful for where we live on this beautiful planet.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
Amen, brother. Yeah.
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 If I may, I'd love to add one more thing to Mark too. What most people I don't think ever really talk about is the amount of impression that the military has after they leave the military. Even myself, going through my many careers, I have had a copious amounts of teachers that have been either ex-Marines or Special Forces or other things along that way, and they took that training, that mentality, and have, brought it on to me and other people, of course, that we met. And with that, so the military doesn't end when the military service ends. And that training and education that you get, you're bringing a lot of it just into the engagement that we do here. And some of that views and perspectives that you've had and you've learned is leached into everything, even from today's interview and discussion with that there's a lot of effect and a lot of lifelong things that come from that service that people just don't realize the lasting effects with that. It's almost like, just because I want to plug NASA, I love NASA, and people don't realize that a lot of things that we engage with, from our cell phones, the Velcro to everything, all came from one thing that then affects and stretches across the whole world. And your training and stuff is a simple thing where those guys take those lessons for the next 30, 40 years and interact with the general community and help project those lessons. So both of those things are really great things to have and take and take out into the world and into our society.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. And the visionaries, the visionaries that come up with all of this stuff, like you talk about NASA and the military, it's incredible. It's incredible to meet the people that are the visionaries that all of a sudden come up with this idea, and you think, how in the world? How in the world did you come up with that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And you know what it all started with? Is usually a question, and somebody decided to take a leap and just give it a shot.
Yes.
Right? All of that is usually just that back to that first step. I'm going to keep going back to that.
Yeah.
You have to take that first step.
Yeah.
And it's
all
usually under
creative.
pressure.
It
When
is.
you got that pressure cooker and you don't have any time, it's like working for him. It's never enough. It's never fast enough. But you produce the most under pressure.
Yeah.
And I think whether it's NASA or some of the military, we're paid to produce under pressure and make command decisions, dare I say life or death decisions. And that's when things happen. And you have to make a decision. And sometimes at the end of the day, you're like, wow, that worked out really good.
Yeah.
And you're blessed that it did. But the brain power that we take for granted as leadership, what would we do without it? Your question, good, bad, and ugly, the bad part, when you go into the military, when guys get out, they never let that go. They become only that. So when they come back to the civilian world, it's tough. They don't know how to be a civilian. And admittedly, a lot of them don't want to be. They like what they did, so let's stay on that. So you'll see one of us walking down the street with our fatigues on and our BDU cap on, and are you serving? No, I was out 20 years ago. Okay. So you want to work with them because they haven't ever let that go. Goes back to our life balance. So that's one of the things with all the vet organizations I work with, is help them understand you're not alone. It's okay not to be on active duty anymore, and work with them, and again with a life balance and things like that. So
Do you feel like they had a purpose when they were in the military, and then they get out and then they're kind of purposeless, almost kind of a bit lost?
absolutely, and that's a very good way to put it, because when I talked about the schools and all these great things, they really gave you a purpose and you sink your teeth into it, believe in the vision and purpose, fighting for whatever it is, your God, your country, your core, whatever. It gave you the ultimate reason why. And then when you leave that, now you're going to go work at Joe's crab shop and you're steaming crabs. And a week ago, you were pulling triggers overseas, So
Yeah, huge switch.
it's a different perspective, yep.
And and from the civilian side, because I never served, I did some law enforcement, but I never got that. the thing I see most often is it's the camaraderie that society never supports enough when they come out with that, and a lot of some of the problems that we have could be better mitigated by a better camaraderie and gaining that camaraderie. But it's hard to get the folks to come out to engage. It's just like I was shocked when you pointed out to me there's 9,000 or so veterans here in Rock County alone, and only 10% are actually in the local groups and stuff to even get any of that support. So that means 90% of those veterans, after they come out, they're in our local community, they're essentially out to the general community.
And they're just dumped in.
Yeah. So then it's down to family support and how their personal life is. And that's something I think all as a society we need to get better at.
Yeah,
on
or
a
they
lot
just
of fronts.
tuck it in, right? Just tuck
Yeah.
it inside and then never really process what happened or even those feelings. Because how can you go from, being an ex-military wife, even in that aspect for me, coming back, I wanted to be back in the military. I wanted that camaraderie. I wanted that, and that's just a small part of what you all did, but I was a support and I knew that. And other people that I met were supports. But when we did come back to Wisconsin, it was odd. I never, until meeting Josh and then doing all of this and then meeting you, Mark, and then all the other veterans and sitting in our big meetings when all the other branches are all bantering back and forth, Marines are better, Navy guy, Air Force, oh, I'm better, all of that. I didn't realize how much I missed that until we were all together and we were sitting, at the VFW, and I thought, I called my dad right away when I was driving home. I said, Dad, I found him again. I found my tribe. I found the community. I found them, and I didn't realize it. I really didn't realize that.
Yeah. So, some of it too is just a change in society and a change just with life, right? You go back to wars from World War II, for example, most of those guys, when they came back from overseas, had time to have that camaraderie and start building their tribe coming back because they were on a ship for a week or two trying to come back. And that's a huge jump. I remember listening to an interview from the local veterans that were pointing out that when they came back from Vietnam, for example, they were in a plane and a half a day later they were suddenly back in the community. They never had those weeks to really build that de-stress, talk to people that understood. And that's why so many of these groups and stuff that to get the ugly mitigated need to focus on that, to give that front. And get those tribes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to back up. I'm not an ex-Navy because, you're never an ex-Marine, so I am a Navy wife. I was a Navy wife for a very long time, so I can't discount that.
I
I'm
bit
not
my
saying
tongue on that, folks.
Yeah.
And the ex-Marine thing.
I saw the look at it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Don't
You're
say
still
that.
part of the tribe.
Yeah.
It goes back to that support network again.
Yeah.
They can't exist, especially on a mental aspect, if the house and home is not a good structure.
Right. So, Mark, do you want to share a little bit about the ugly? Is there anything that you want to?
The ugly side, the stress, and when you're in theater, kill zones and things like that. If you drop your guard and forget that you are part of that team, and you start to just take it all in, it can eat you alive, and you can forget about the team, and you might start to look for other ways to forget what's going on, because you can embrace it, learn from it, try to forget it. And so the alcoholism, those kind of things like that comes up, guilty. Back then, there was nothing better in the world than an ice cold beer, or in that case, a warm beer. But so there's that ugliness where, again, we aren't helping each other, or I'm not reaching out to somebody for help. I'm reaching out for the beer, those kind of things like that, that whole compensation thing like that. So there's an ugly side to that, where in the movies you always have the Rambos and the tough guys and all that stuff. No, that's not how it goes at all. So there's always going to be that ugly side with the battles, and that lead to interpersonal battles and battles amongst your friends and things like that. That's probably the ugliest side. But at the same time, some of my best memories of what humans can be and how strong they can be come out of those same situations that lead to the alcoholism, the abuse, the self-abuse, the abuse of others, the PTSD thing. So that's the ugly side. But it seems to me that we recognize it now, and there's all these organizations that want to help, but you got to be willing to get the help, and that's always still the challenge. I've been blessed with through the VA, the VSO, the Rock County VSO. They're amazing partners with us, with the Pistons and Props. So there's that mental attitude that you can get beat up all day long from that being overseas, because ultimately I talked about God, country, family, core, those kind of things. When you're overseas, some of that goes away. You're so busy, you're so mad, you're so angered, you're so focused that sometimes you forget about God and your family. It's hard to communicate with them, so you lose some of that. So you lose your team, whether you realize it or not. That's the ugly part. Sometimes because of the pressure and the stress, you lose your team and you've isolated yourself. And it can happen just like that, but it takes years to come back from it for a lot of our heroes, both men and women. So
Sure. Well, in your capacity that you do now, you help a lot of people through that in lots of different capacities. I mean, lots of different ways, I should say.
we, with the Marine Corps League, the VFW, the Legion, the combat veterans, the VVA, it's beautiful. We are all working together as a team. For me personally, I take a lot of pride in if somebody needs help, I'm going to find where to get them that help, because I'm not going to be that guy, the counselor, if you will, those kind of things. But we're such it's one mission, one team. You've seen the poster with our whole vets reunion. We're in this together. You joked earlier about the Army and the Marines and the Navy snipping at each other. It's all in fun, but once the rubber hits the road and we have a mission, we're all working together. And all those groups that I talked about, whether the VFW Cooties, the VFW Riders, the combat vets, they all work together. And when you come there, it doesn't matter what colors you're flashing, what hat you got on. What do I have on today? Pistons and Props. Doesn't matter if you have Pistons and Props on, we're all there to do the same mission, and that's to help. My ultimate mission each day is just make that person a little bit better. And so
Yeah, that's wonderful. And connecting them with whatever help is out there, that makes you an amazing connector, and being able to understand the compartmentalizing that happens when something like that happens, and how do you open up that box and help someone through that, and without shutting it again, how do you do that?
and everybody, it's back to creativity, because sometimes you got to coach them, sometimes you got to kick them in the head. However they need, whatever they need,
Right.
you got to be willing to do that for them.
Yeah, and you have to speak their language, right?
Yeah.
Like I always kid about, I think, goodness you speak Lizzie, but God help you for that.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. You have to
Yeah.
have that creativity of understanding how someone else's brain works, and not take offense or not take something to heart because it's their reality and it really has nothing to do with you. And that compartment that you open up and somebody says something, could trigger something else. So then you have to be really creative about not letting it trigger you, and understanding which is which. And, that's the human brain experience, I guess, all the way around. So I can't imagine.
Yeah, and another key word, triggers there. You never know what their triggers are. And you hope they don't have one, but we really all do.
Everybody
We
does.
do,
Yeah.
we certainly do.
Yeah. We're still looking for the trigger to make you talk less. But, sorry, but
Didn't you say spray bottle?
oh, spray. Oh, yeah.
I did. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Or just
yes.
put her in an airplane.
Yes.
You think I'll be quiet on the airplane too?
Yeah, we
It's
could
loud.
turn your mic off.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can just talk and talk and talk, and you won't hear me. You can just shake your head.
You got it?
Sure, Lizzie. Sure, Lizzie. Oh, that might work. Okay, I'm in. Let's go.
And we'll put you in the back of the B-29.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Or down in the ball turret. She's the only one that would fit.
Okay,
Okay,
I would
I'm
agree
in.
with that.
Yeah, I'm in. Totally in. Totally in. So, well, guys, thank you both so much for sharing all of this. I think what we'll do is we'll have you both back again on your own separate shows, and then you can talk a little bit more about some more of your adventures. You both, just knowing you, and I mean, Mark, I've only gotten a chance to talk with you probably over the last couple of months, and Josh, I've known you for way longer. But there's so many things, so many creative experiences that you've had that I would love for you both to share with our world. So I'm going to ask you back.
Sure.
But you and I, or all three of us, could probably talk all day long, and Tina back there is probably going, all right, okay, Lizzie, wrap it up, let's
What
move
does this
on.
mean?
Yeah,
What does
right?
this mean?
Yeah, exactly. So how about we take a little break, and then we'll circle back, and we will talk about Pistons and Props and how that all developed and what's going on and all the grand things.
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Sounds great.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Hang on tight, everybody. We'll be right back. All right, everybody. Welcome back. Josh and Mark, welcome back to the show. I'm super excited to talk about Pistons and Props. So, honestly, the first thing that I want to start with is, Josh, you kind of shared why you got to be a part of Pistons Props. Mark, you kind of shared a little bit. I would love to know, like, the deeper story about what, I guess, all the things Pistons and Props. I keep going back to, Josh, I know you talked about your family and all the things, but what excites you the most now about Pistons and Props? Not just the children's section, because you talked about that and stuff.
Sure.
What's the number one thing that excites you?
You can yell at me for this, Lizzie. It's not one core thing. I mean, I've gotten so excited on every single time we add an airplane, a venue. We get a new group that comes in. I must have been bouncing off the walls for a week when we got our title sponsor, Corporate Contractors Inc., that joined us as partners for this. Like, just every little victory has turned into such a yay moment for all of us. I mean, just this week, right, we just announced 2 new airplanes. The crowd doesn't know yet. We've just expanded to now another 120 by 700 feet. That's, making this, again, even larger. Just all those little victories just turn into one huge, continuation on that drive, that reason why we just keep moving forward and just keep going on all of that stuff. I mean, really the biggest thing for me and the true loving and enjoying it drive is every single time I get reminded on why I'm doing some of this stuff. Like how great it is when I go into the VFW going down there, and there's guys there that they have questions, they want to shake hands, they want to talk about it. It's just that camaraderie build to know that what we're doing is actually causing those guys to have a positive reaction into the community here.
Right, the
is
Pistons
so
and
much
Props.
more.
Yeah, it's been amazing at the VFW.
Yeah.
I've lost my identity there. Now when I go there, the first question out of people's mouths are, who's the tall, goofy guy with the air show? And I'm like, nice to see you too.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's Josh. So
Yeah.
He's like the puppy. When you're walking down the street and everybody wants to know the puppy, but they don't want to know you.
And
Yeah.
I tell him it's not Goofy, it's Gowey.
Yeah.
Thank
That's
you.
fair.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, and my excitement too, same. When Josh and I were actually together when we found out about the new airplanes were coming, and we were both jumping up and down like we were 12.
Like little kids,
Yeah,
right?
we were, yeah.
It's just so much fun to do that. I literally too, after that too, I ran around. My mother's in town to help take care of the kids because we have so much that we got to do with this Pistons and Props these few weeks. So I practically tackled my mother, tackled my wife, picked up my kids. It was all a dancing celebration, going like, "We got these 2 airplanes." We've been trying for months and months to. I mean, that's what some people don't realize is like to get some of these things. Even some of the stuff that lined up this year has been a 2 or 3 year battle, discussion, email, meetings, just to try to get one simple item to get up. So when all that comes together and the coalition of having it happen is such a little euphoria of having that it's just great. And
You
it
gotta
really
love it
helps
when
want
a
to do the
plan
next
comes
day.
together.
Yeah.
Yes.
It really is.
And all the, like you said, talk about the hard work. I mean, not only just Pistons and Props alone, but starting a nonprofit. I mean, that's a whole different animal all on its own.
Yeah.
You know, and us waiting last year to get approval so that we could be a nonprofit when we were out asking for sponsors and asking for money, you know, that's a big deal too. So
Well, there's a
I
lot of
think-
good faith by the community too,
Yes.
just trusting us that what we were saying was
True.
legitimate.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
And it was great to go back and, you know, and kind of have that certificate and go like, see, everything we've been telling you is, you know, is real, and it all came down together.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And for those of you out there that haven't gone or haven't been a part of an event, especially at the beginning stages of creating an event, even volunteering, I really, really encourage you to do so. Find an organization, find something, find Pistons and Props, come and volunteer with us. You know, it's such a, I don't even know what the word is.
Rewarding.
Rewarding. Good word. Yeah. Very,
It is.
very rewarding. Yeah. You feel a part of something.
We do.
Bigger, like you said, yeah, Mark, it just bigger than all of us.
And speaking of bigger than all of us, thank you for that nice transition.
You're very welcome.
He talks about small little victories adding up to a huge victory, and I want to stress that on Friday night is our All Vets reunion. A year ago, last year, had a couple of Marines sitting in a bar, because that's what we do, and one of the older guys who's been the heart and soul of the Marine Corps League said, we should have a party for every veteran in Rock County. And we all said, toast, and said, yep, let's do it. A week later, there we are, we're sitting at the Beloit VFW putting a plan together, trying to start a new nonprofit to literally invite in the entire 10,000, actually, almost 10,000 veterans from Rock County to come to a party. And we let go of the whole party thing because of the stigma of a party, but it turned into a huge, beautiful event, and it was gorgeous. It was just fun to watch it. How it morphed into, well, we figured a couple hundred, and we ended up having over 1,000 veterans there that day.
And that was at the Beloit
And that was at the
VFW,
Beloit
right?
VFW.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like we challenged with the Pistons and Props. It's so big, it's almost too big.
Yeah.
What a wonderful problem to have. But all the organizations came together, and we just wanted to say thank you and have a good time with our vets. And the VA and all the groups that came there, the vendors that came and supported us, offered information, because ultimately we still want them to know that we might be having a party to say thank you, but here's all these assets. And it was a great start. And then when we started talking and how successful your program was last year, how it'd just be perfect because we outgrew the Beloit VFW, what are we going to do? Well, let's go to the airport. And it's a blessing, and we're expecting a huge crowd that night for the Vets reunion, and it's going to be amazing. And it's just, again, I always talk about helping somebody get better. Well, he decided to help us get better by teaming up like this, and it's going to be amazing. I can't wait. I can't wait for it to be over, too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A little more sleep would be
that's
great.
right. Then,
Yeah.
so would you say that that's what excites you the most then about Pistons and Props, Mark? Is that
Absolutely.
Yeah, that connection.
The huge connection there, the media, the messaging, it's just spot on. I just think it's going to be huge. It's going to be very successful, and it's going to be successful for the right reasons. Our mission is sincere. It's to get the knowledge out to the veterans and to say thank you. And that's because we can never do that enough. And I just think it's an ideal situation with our sponsors, CCI, and everybody. It's amazing what it's morphed into.
Yeah,
And really, let's not undercut too. So, I mean, really, we have two events that are happening. Really, we have the Family Day on Saturday. For those that don't realize, right? It's essentially an air show without the planes doing loops in the sky, right? And originally, Friday night was supposed to originally just be a small tertiary event to the
That's a big
Saturday
word.
function.
Tertiary. Yeah.
That was originally supposed to be, that's all it was, and it wasn't until Mark and the All Vets reunion, and it's morphed now equal to or greater than the Saturday event at this point. And a lot of it is only happening not just because of the Old Vets Reunion, but because of the One Team, One Mission that Mark has sprouted, and the VFW and the combat vets and the Marine Corps, right, and everybody that's under that one team, one mission envelope, right, because there's about a dozen plus that are all under that group, have all stepped up, not just physically, but also financially, just trying to get there because, as a fairly new nonprofit and still going into our second year for event, right, it's hard to get to a point where we can do something like and get into a financial position where we can offer free for every single veteran that wants to come. And that's only because of the support that's coming from all those veterans groups. Without them, it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But that's also a domino effect that caused that because of that support. That's what got us then the attention that we needed to have, like the REMAX skydive team that we got coming in. That's what's got us now with the Missing Man flyover and the whole little veteran program that we have during that day, so that we can have those great acts during the national anthem, during the taps, and all that to make that veteran program be a good thing for the community. It all started with the financial and physical support that came from all that under that roof, all under the VFW and all the groups that are there. And
But I think as our groups teamed up, it added a credibility to both of us.
Yeah,
Agree.
it did.
Yeah.
To quote the song, "Gave me something to believe in."
Yeah.
And that's what this does, is you can believe in the vets, and people saw the success of this program last year, so it's almost a common sense that together we're going to be amazing.
Yep.
People it's a good assumption. You hate to assume, but in this case, it's a good assumption. It's going to be amazing, and you want to be part of it. You really do.
Well, and the nice thing about this too, using the old tertiary, what's become tertiary is like I'm a very firm believer in hitting everything in society indirectly, right? You hit them phrase on with some things, but if you have a mission or a goal, it's better to hit it up from multiple directions and on the side. And we have almost 30 veterans groups as of right now that are going to be there doing booths and events, and even as myself coming around finding these groups, I didn't even know 2/3 of them existed, and some of them have such good missions with suicide or other support networks that are there for the veterans that need it. So diving back into it, a lot of these groups to exist, to survive, to continue to interact is not just solely on the veterans aspect. They need the general community, and a lot of these groups need a platform to get in front of the general community as a whole to just survive. And that's what's so nice about Friday night is not only now the thousands of veterans that will show up will get to interact, because I've already come with numerous veterans that didn't know half of these groups existed, but the general community now will get all weekend thousands of people that will get to interact with these veterans groups, and hopefully they'll gain more support than they ever would have. And that platform aspect and hitting it from frontline and to the sides is just so great to have with that.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, really.
Yeah.
What we're building together, it really is. In the community, it really is.
And it all started with the one team, one mission, all under that one roof.
Yeah.
And that's the first starting domino. It was originally the VFW that took that first step to say we will support it financially, and then everybody else kind of falling in line after that once the VFW stepped with that. And our gratitude to the VFW will never be enough, saying thank you for just taking that first leap of faith to make that happen.
Right. So let's pivot a little bit and talk about our time, because we all know time is very, very precious.
Not sure what that is anymore.
All three of us, right? All three of us have a very busy life outside of Pistons and Props. So talk a little bit about that. Mark, I'm going to pick on you first. Talk a little bit, how do you navigate the time when we both have to push Josh back and say, okay, wait, time out. Tell us how do you navigate through that?
I try to remember I've got an acronym called LIPS, and it stands for Hold Yourself, Loyalty, Integrity, Professionalism, Service. So when I get up in the morning, I remind myself what loyalty is. You got to be loyal to yourself first. What is it that you really need to do today to make yourself okay, to survive sometimes, and just get better? So I start with that. Integrity, that goes without saying. Lie to a friend, it's over. So whatever you do, just be honest with everybody, and then be professional and provide service. Service, taking care of everybody first. it all comes back to life balance. So I start out with some prayer in the morning. You talked about that beautiful G word, grace. That's what I ask for. I acknowledge it, and I appreciate it, and I ask for more of it. On the wall, I've got a blank canvas on the wall, and I say to myself, and some of my helpers at the VA have helped me understand this, whatever happened yesterday, your canvas is empty now. It's gone.
Beautiful.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's gone. So what picture are you going to paint today? You're going to paint a picture of a bonehead? Or what? What's your day going to be? And sometimes you don't know, so ask for that grace and picture what that day is and paint your picture that day. At the end of the day, it might not have turned out the way you wanted, but you need to start out with a picture of what it's going to be, what your priorities are. I'm much like you guys. Our lists are this long, and you can have a death by a list if you want, because you got 1,000 things to do and you get 10 of them done, and then you can focus on the stuff you didn't get done, or be thankful and thank grace that you had to do and got done the things you did. So it's at the end of the day, forgiving yourself that you didn't do all that stuff that you thought you were going to do. And like my dad used to say, did anybody die? Nope, nobody died, so it's okay. So that's, as a rambling answer, that's kind of how I start and go through my day as best I can. So
That's wonderful. I think all of us can take that as a huge advice to tackle the day in the morning. Because so many of us do get off, me included, get out of bed running sometimes. And I try not to do that. And
your feet don't even hit the ground.
no, just fly, yeah. And that's one of the biggest words that you've taught me too, Mark, is loyalty. Being loyal to myself. I think I've always been very good at being loyal to everyone else, but I was always kind of on the back burner. So, since I've met you, that's one of the most profound things that you've taught me is being loyal to myself. And that's become to be the 2025 word for me, and probably will be, and then some, because, squirrel on rollerblades. Yeah.
Spitfire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And those lessons leach through, because how many times now have we talked about a vendor or other things that we could have gotten cheaper or faster or other things, and we went, no, the other groups supported us from last year, they're supporting us this year, we're going to stay loyal to them, and it doesn't matter, we're not even going to go get bids because we're just going to be loyal to our partners.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
and that all
Right.
goes off of that too, it all leaches together.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, our tiger wrangler. Now you're up.
For me, on my brain actually goes a lot to my flight training. How, you could call it crisis management, you could call it a lot of different names, right? But a lot of mine just, it stems from how I was trained on either crisis management back when it was law enforcement or back when on the flying side. But all of that is morphed into now when I'm doing this, my is just, I tell myself, just keep moving. And that's the number one thing. So I view it as, at this point now, an iceberg, because you got 10% normally above and 90% down below. So I find myself in the morning, what's my iceberg, what's sticking above the water that I have to hit to today. And the nice thing about that is you chop off that top of the iceberg, well, you made it lighter, more came up. So then you just keep chipping at it, and you just keep moving forward, and you just keep moving forward on that. And that's really the best way my mental, how I mentally tackle it and how I view it on that is I just keep moving, and I just don't stop until I get to that. I've had a lot of good mentors that I can mirror that I've used over the years and stuff that I probably find myself similar to them more than I'd like to admit on a lot of things too with that. And I just kind of mirror what I saw other people doing, and I molded it to my own self.
Well, and you've always inspired me too throughout the time that I've known you, is because even if you have like a little pocket of a window, if you have enough time to get one email out or something done, you'll do it. No matter if you're sitting in your car, or if we're at the coffee shop, or if we're at, the kitchen table, or whatever.
Or if it's 11:30 at night.
Yeah, and you're getting text
Right.
message from me on something
And all
that
of
has to
us
be done.
early
Yeah.
people are in the
Yeah.
bed sleeping, and we wake up going, oh, we got 5 text messages from our tiger wrangler.
If you haven't learned to mute your phone near me yet, you will now.
Do
But
not
that's
disturb.
chipping at that
Yes,
iceberg,
right.
And really, to me, most of my things, it drives almost to the same thing that I experience when I'm working as an airline pilot. My drive to accomplish everything is so I can go home. So I can go home to get my kids, so I can go home to my wife, so I can go to my family. And I look at that list of what do I have to accomplish and how can I get it done so I can go back to my family.
Right.
That's where a lot of it is, because That's the main, and then once I have that in my mind how I do it, then it turns into how can we have fun? How can we make it enjoyable? Is it just going to the coffee shop? So give myself a treat, spend $5, and sit at the coffee shop for an hour to accomplish that. Is it coming to your kitchen table so we can banter and have a good time talking about that stuff while we work on those tasks? Just because you have a mountain of tasks doesn't mean it has to be a miserable time to do it. It can be tasks you don't like. Still does not mean it has to be a boring or an unenjoyable time.
You can make it what you want to make it, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. And it's only as good as what you project also onto that image with that.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
But you'll notice as he talks, he's always talking about we're doing this, we're doing this. And it goes back to the teams thing again. It's just, you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do life alone. You don't have to do tasks alone. You don't have to do your catastrophes alone. It's always easier when you're sitting down with a couple fellow boneheads or friends and don't tackle it alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
that really is the key.
It is.
There's
really.
more support out there than what most people realize, but it's hard to ask for help. It is. It's also hard to admit mistakes. It's hard to admit that you're over your head and you don't know what you're doing. But a lot of that can be usually remedied through research or through just being motivated enough to go out and start asking the questions to get those answers.
Well, and find your tribe that's reciprocated. If you give as much as they give back to you, it's that back and forth, and we have that. So I think when we're trying to manage our time and manage what's going on with the events and also manage what's going on in our own lives, to be able to call each other and say, oh my gosh, this is what's going on, or hey, have you heard this, or whatever, and it's reciprocated, because then for me, both of you will say, oh, well, this is going on, or this is going on. It's a constant, it's infinity. It just keeps swirling around us, and to find that is, we're blessed. We're very blessed. God blessed us to have us all together, really,
But we have to have the strength to say no. I joked about yesterday,
Yeah.
you sent me, can we meet? And I just said no. We have to be able to say that, because as much as we talk about building teams and helping, you can't become the person that, whether you realize it or not, you're not being loyal to yourself when you're trying to help everybody and you forget about yourself, i.e. Spitfire here. You spend so much time trying to focus on helping that you don't help yourself, and then you find yourself crushed. And you can't do that. And the other thing about you talking about asking for help, ego, for me, it stands for ego's greatest obstacle. That is your greatest obstacle for men generally, is your ego. It's asking for help when it's hard, because
it's hard to let tasks go too. Right?
Yep.
Like there are tons of things with Pistons and Props that I like. It feels like it's almost like my precious, right? Like work so hard, it's a polished gem, and I have to pass it on to people, and just pray that they treat it the same way with the respect and everything that we've put the energy into it.
Yes.
And you got to it's almost like raising a kid. You have to let it go. You've done enough into it. Hopefully you've prepared it enough. And,
Yes.
You almost
and they'll go. Yeah, they'll go.
You almost got to allow yourself to be vulnerable, and that's a tough word for guys too, especially veterans. Let yourself be vulnerable. Give this to somebody. Trust them to do it. Let them do it. If they fail, gently take it back. But most of the time they're not, even if they don't do it like you are going to do it, it's going to get done, but you have to trust them. And that's a big challenge for a lot of veterans in particular, is to trust and to allow someone else to do it differently than you. And just, it's okay. And to be vulnerable. And that's a huge word for a lot of people.
Yeah, and to piggyback what Mark was saying too, that's what makes part of our team strong, is that we're also strong individual people to begin with, and that there's so much respect just being able to say no on that and knowing your limits. That's one thing that I'm so proud of with my wife and I. We strive so hard with, is we have strived together. That's been since day one, from 15, 16 years ago when we first met, is we have to be an individual, and then we come together as not only spouses but as our family, right? So if you're not an individual and you're not an individual, you can't come together to be that in the first place. And it's the same thing here, right? We don't need mirrors of, we don't need mini Joshes everywhere. We don't need mini Lizzies everywhere. Definitely not little mini Marks everywhere. We want the individualness. And you have to be that person first to then come together as the team. Otherwise, it's not a team. right? It's the same thing. Like, you don't need yes men in a corporation, otherwise the corporation doesn't succeed. The yes men doesn't do anything good.
Well, and I think too, it's kind of an unspoken word. You feel recognized because you are your individual, and what you bring to the table is that. And even though somebody doesn't say, I recognize that you're an individual, when they, celebrate you for what you do bring to the table, then it doesn't have to be. I think that's one of the things that I've learned too is somebody doesn't have to always pat you on the back. I mean, we all love to get patted on the back. We all love to get hugs. Me, the biggest hugger. Oh, that's this is awesome. But we don't always have to have that when you know that you're respected and that you have that integrity and that people recognize what you bring to the table. It kind of organically gives you that pat on the back that I will admit I'd never encountered before. So it's really cool that way too to be a part of a group of people that you just know, right? You just know.
I think a pat on the back sometimes is when we join the Marine Corps, they're patting you on the back saying, you're good enough to try. We trust you to try. When you bring a new vendor in, a partner, you literally are patting a person on the back saying, I trust you to be part of us. Now let's go get them.
Yep.
Let's get this done. Go get them, Tiger.
Yep.
And you're patting somebody on the back by saying, I trust you enough to be part of my vision. And so it's a big deal. A lot of guys,
It is.
nope, I don't need a pat on the back. Okay, tough guy. But we all need it. And so,
Well, in respect to, it's not literally normally a pat on the back. There's so many different ways. For me, a true pat on the back will be just seeing everybody show up, the crowds, like, the seed, like it all come together as wave and mission.
Everything.
That,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
getting compliments as everybody's leaving out the door, thanks for the event, thanks for all the work. Like, that to me is my pat on the back. Like that, then that's good.
Yes, yeah. Well, and I know we've talked a lot about influencers and mentors, and I guess the question I have is between all of the different groups and all the different businesses and all the places that we've been and all the people we've talked to, who do you think would be like that number one mentor that all of a sudden had this amazing idea that you went, oh, we should really incorporate that into Pistons and Props, or oh my gosh, I didn't think about that. Let's pivot that way. We're always listening and growing and communicating and all that stuff. Is there anything that stands out in, I guess, Josh, in your world leading up to 2024, leading into 2025, just how much it's grown? I mean, I don't know how many even just regular events have grown this fast in a year that I know of, anyways. That, I mean, just expanded this quickly.
It is ambitious.
It is very,
Very
ambitious.
ambitious.
Yeah, yeah. Is there one person or one company or one mentor or influencer for both of you too? Mark, I can see the wheels turning. I can see smoke. Yeah, that's.
I'm panicking.
Don't panic.
No, I think I have two, actually.
Yeah.
One is Mark Finnegan from Betts
Oh
Row.
yes.
Yes. To see the drive and the integrity and the growth and
that's big.
it's easy to get something going, but to maintain it for all those years. As a matter of fact, I talked to him today and he asked for a favor and I'm like, of course. But to see that glow in his eye, to hear it in his voice at all times, he's definitely an inspiration to me to say, you can do this. Year after year after year, it can get bigger and it can get better. The other one, and he's going to hate this for me, but Dean Butzler, who was a sergeant in the Marine Corps, has been my mentor in the Marine Corps League. If I have a second father in my life, it would be him. He's the guy that walks into the room, and he's always the smartest guy in the room, but he never acts like it. He's always in control. And when you want to see life balance and the focus that you need to survive in life, he is the poster child for that. I completely look up to him. Personally, I've had a few bumps in the road for me, life with lifestyle and choices, and he's always been there. And it would not be short to say that he's one of the guys that saved my life. So those are my two. And they're both life balanced, full heart vision the whole deal. When I grow up someday, I want to be just like those two. So.
Well, locally, for the mentoring, it's been an interesting road because everything from mostly last year, right, was how the original envisionment, and some of the guys that we originally started on the board and some of the group, right, like we all came together as one general vision, and it's interesting now because. Even this year, it started with like what I had in my mind, what was the core idea, and now it's like little shoots, avenues, different directions as I come across different people, different things. So, it's almost like you start with a circle, and then now there's other little circles that have added to it, making it bigger and bigger, and then you zoom out, and it's still a circle, right? So a lot of the little things that we've come together with that have all stemmed from some of the people that I've met who have been just as equally inspirational on that. The vets role is one, and some of it is also just the groups seen with it. The one I really like the highlight is the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association. The family entity that I have come across with those guys there is beyond encouraging. Something that I want that to continue so much. And so well into the expansion with that it can't help but just influence me, not so much as say mentor side, but just the influence like a mentor, just seeing how they've built up that community, that relationship that I wish I'd see across so many other groups and so many other events, on that camaraderie aspect with it, because they really are starting to get that, I think, in the right direction that this next generation needs to have on so many fronts with that. On a more personal mentorship way, really, I have kind of three, but one will morph together. One is my two sisters. My two sisters are, one is a doctor down in Arizona. She's down there. She started her own core business. She's an inventor. She's a doctor that's down there. And from the morning she wakes up, from the morning she goes to bed, she is on it with everything that she does. But she doesn't do just doctoring. She's also a dance teacher, and she's taking other dance classes herself. So she's constantly just doing, moving, building, infecting the community that she has in there. And then on the flip side, my sister that lives locally around here, the balance that she does between the two kids and tolerating her brother and all the things that I need help with, and our crazy family that we have with all of that. There's so much strength with both of those women that they're doing. It is hard to not be inspired, because with either one of them, they're a phone call away. There's so many things that they pick, they change, that influences even this event that nobody will ever know, because they're simple phone calls, simple things. But the drive, just watching them and having that, there really is no individual victory that either one of those could not accomplish on that front. And if you guys think, I'm crazy in the ambition that I have, my two sisters are equal to or greater than me on that front. My own personal mentor that I had growing up was a monk that was up in Wisconsin. And I was expressing to you guys the story for TV's sake. I won't go into all of it.
It's a great story.
But he, even when he was a monk, I didn't know at first that he was also a pilot, which also helped, the trust and faith. I mirrored a lot of my young adult life originally on him until I started growing and morphing into it, and he's still
You
in my
wanted to
life.
be a monk?
No, the drive and the motivation that he had, because he was also running, at that time it was a business called Laser Monks that they were doing, was inkjet printers and stuff like that. So running the monastery, plus being a pilot and everything else. I still remember as a boy, I got my private pilot's license, and he just, without blinking an eye, handed me the keys to his airplane, and have at it. The trust, the faith that I got. Yeah.
That's
Which was
wonderful.
great, because the first thing I did was got a flat tire on his airplane, and then got stuck in an intersection on a joint military airport. And two C-130s were coming in that had to be waved off because my airplane that I was flying was stranded at an intersection. So I first trust and faith that blew a tire and pissed off the military. It was a great start for a kid that was 17. Yeah. So a lot of learning lessons that we've had along the way, and he has been a great guiding hand. At this point now, he's really just more of a family guidance now. He's interacting, helping with the kids and being a good mentor for them too every year when we go and see him, and I look forward every year with that. And a lot of that all started back with when I first was growing up, my first starting to get my license, and he was definitely one of the dominoes that pushed me in that direction. Same with just that first flight that coalesced and has gone round circle to sitting in the seat today.
Awesome. That's awesome. So I guess 2 more things. Then I guess we have to wrap it up because, like I said before, we could probably talk all day long because we're good at that, the 3 of us. Let's talk a little bit about the event. What's happening on Friday? What's happening on Saturday?
Where do we start?
I know, right? Right? It's quite the event we have created here. So have at it, Josh.
Well, how about we just do an actual event overview?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
So,
and Mark can talk about the veterans. We'll let you.
I'll chime in when
Okay.
he needs me to.
Yes, please do.
You lead the way, and I'll chime in.
Okay.
sure. So it's Friday, July 18th, and Saturday, July 19th, with a backup rain day of Sunday, July 20th. Right. So if it rains out on either one of the days, we'll shift everything all to the other day that we have with that. But Friday is Veterans Night, and then some of the key components that Mark can talk about is all vets reunions and other things that we have going in there. And then Saturday is our family day. So it's 2 separate missions, 2 separate views that we're doing. All of them are community events. One big thing we want to stress is that it's Veterans Night, but it's still open to the community. It is a community event on both days.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, we want the community coming with the veterans with that, but that's
Come
part
to
of
say
it.
thank you and be part of it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and everything pretty much that's happening on Friday is also happening on Saturday, save a couple of things, just the logistical reasons that can't happen. So on Friday night, just a general list, we have hot air balloons that will be coming out doing a balloon glow and a tethered glow. We have fireworks finale at the end. We have live music, a beer garden, a motorcycle show, skydivers coming at 6 o'clock, along with that flyover that we referenced with that. Smack dab in the middle of the event is our veterans group with the All Vets Reunion is the heart and center of the event that we have on that Friday night with that. And then, of course, World War II airplanes. We have a ton of local pilots that will be flying in, and then we have some big names coming in like the B-29 Doc, one of only 2 in the world still flying. And then our other big headliner is the C-47. That's All Brother. It was the lead aircraft in the D-Day Normandy invasion. It is the most historical plane that we have coming is that C-47. For those who attended last year, it was scheduled to come last year, and then en route it broke down in maintenance in St. Louis and wasn't able to make that due to that maintenance. And that's the one problem with some of these World War II airplanes is it takes a lot of volunteers, a lot of manpower. So what folks may not realize is a portion of their ticket sales is going to some of these airplanes to keep them up and flying. And it's kind of one of those, their ticket sales go to then the fee that we paid, and that fee that we paid to bring these airplanes in is going to that overhead. Because one item breaks, and you're not talking $100, you're talking $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. One of the other B-29 that isn't coming up is actually down for something that happened. They've had to cancel a lot of their shows because these parts can't be made anymore. They all have to be made from scratch, and that's a lot of effort and a lot of money and time to keep these old airplanes and these old history flying. And then
that's exactly the history of these. We can't forget our history, and we need to support these. Our kids, our families, they need to see these things to remember why and what we are, and that's a key point of it. One of the things I want to stress is, although it's Veterans Night, it is incredibly family friendly. There's so many things going on for the kids, both Friday and Saturday, with the fireworks and the air balloons and all the things that the kids can do. So don't let the Veterans Reunion thing scare you away from the family. It's honestly, it's a family night that night too. It's really important to stress that.
And to support us all. Yeah.
Yep, and the area that the All Vets Reunion is located to, it's not barred off. Like it has been designed and meant for that a family can come down and they can sit in that area and engage and talk and be with the veterans that are in there. It's not a cloistered off zone. It's designed this way so that the community and the veterans can all commingle into that space and support all of that with that.
Well, and I empower anybody that does that too. Ask a vet their story. You know, they'll tell you how they got there and what they did, and don't be afraid of that too, because I think as I've learned, you all like to talk a little bit about your journey and what you've done, and and there's a proudness there, and I think people get you just learn so much more and create a better connection and relationship with people when you ask, "What's your story?"
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So moving on with the event on the Friday night, that's everything that we have as a whole. Everything then on Saturday will occur the same thing. So we'll have the World War II airplanes and of course, the food and all that other stuff that we'll have out there. But some big other things we'll have is then our kids zone will engage. Some of our sponsors are out there, like CCI is the one that's helping financially just to make the kids zone that will be happening out there. Right now we'll have like 10 booths we're expecting right now within that zone to be there for our kids. And last year we were proud to have about 400 to 500 kids come through our educational area. We beefed it up where we can take 700 to 800 kids this year with that. So that's where we're calling it the Family Day, is because of that kids zone with that. Because as our board knows, and for the folks that know out there, Propel Forward's mission is the education with that, and that motivation that we have with that zone with that. And then on Saturday too with that, we have a big car show that we that's why it's called Pistons and Props, right? It's Pistons is not just engine pistons, it's car pistons. So we're expecting at least a couple hundred cars to be coming out again. Last year we had 230. We're expecting more to come out, so long as the weather's good with that. And then with that too, it was part of that Pistons parts. On both days we have sports cars that's coming out. It's a super unique thing. It's not often you get to be able to hop into a sports car and go running down the runway, but we'll have that operational too in there. So really the whole event as a group is meant to be so many different avenues and facets, and such a rounded community event that everybody will find something there that they will like or enjoy and engage and stuff like that too.
And I think he mentioned the car show on Saturday. I think we glanced over on Friday night. We're having a motorcycle,
yes,
bike
I did,
show.
yeah.
That thing, there's going to be hundreds of beautiful bikes there, and it's a problem to have when you have so many bikes. You don't know what you're going to do with it. It's wonderful. It's going to be beautiful, and that's again part of the Pistons part of and the props. It's very exciting.
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
And a lot of it too is happening because of the veterans that we have. Like you want to come out because Mark and his Marine Corps League will be out there serving the beer and cooking the food on Friday night with that too. So you can come out and support them and support us by coming out and getting some of the food. And like the bike area too, we have the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association that we mentioned before. They're going to be out there along with the VFW riders parking the planes. We'll be out there and engaging and talking shop about bikes, just wanting to come out and just talk to people about these beautiful pieces of machinery that they just love so dearly on that. And you can really see, if you come out in person too, just how much those guys really love those bikes, and just their support is so great.
Oh yeah. Well, and everybody will get to encounter what a bit of a ceremony is for our veterans as well. With the program to Friday night, which is going to be super.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be a time we're shooting for. What's our new time?
5:45 to
5:45. So today it's 5:45. So
What date is it? 6
yeah,
28.
put it on your calendar.
That's concrete now
It is
because
concrete.
I have to time the skydivers and the jump team and the flyover and the music, and that's hard line now.
Yeah.
5:45 to 6:15.
So he just said a lot of what we're going to do, but it's going to be a beautiful ceremony, an acknowledgement of the volunteers and the veterans to say thank you. The Remax skydivers, they're going to jump out of a perfectly good airplane, and the red, white, and blue, and bring the flag down to us. It's going to be incredible, and so you won't want to miss that. And again, that's at 5:45, and we open up the gates at 5.
Yep, at 5.
Yeah, so you want to get there early. You don't want to come after that and miss that. So if you can,
Highlight.
it's going to be
It will be.
super cool.
It will be good, yeah.
I think there probably won't be dry eyes in the crowd.
Yeah.
Me included, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I guess let's close with this. What advice would the two of you give? You've already done a lot. I mean, you've really, really inspired, I'm sure, many, many people already from what you've already shared today. But what advice would you give to somebody who is inspiring to be either an aviator or in the military? What would you say?
The first thing I would say to them is acknowledge yourself as worthwhile. The first thing you got to do is know that you are worthwhile, that you are important, that you can be something as a part of a team of importance. Acknowledge your greatness. Acknowledge that you have grace within you. Acknowledge the grace that is given to you. Give yourself a pat on the back if you want. Acknowledge that you have potential greatness, and then that day decide how you're going to apply that greatness for that day. What's your mission? What's your vision? What's your goal for the day? And then go out and do something good and help somebody else just be better. That's my short-term advice for a person.
Outstanding.
Mine is very simple. Don't stop. That I've had the privilege of mentoring some pilots along the way, going back to my old alma mater and doing for many years, coming back to do mock interviews and other things. And over the years, that's the one thing I've seen time and time again. You can't stop. It is usually complacency or getting comfortable on where you sit, because you get comfortable in your seat, you get comfortable in your company, you get comfortable with your life. And you have to keep moving. If you want to get up to the airlines all the way up, or if you want to get to where the job where you want to do, or even like with this nonprofit and the event that we have coming, you can't stop. Like, you can take breaks, you can take leave, you still got to be individual, all that stuff, but you can't stop. You got to keep moving.
To his point, they used to call me supersonic and atomic because I was faster and I was never going to tire. I'm past that now. But to his point, that's what he lives now. So promise yourself that you're going to work harder and longer than the next guy to get the mission done. Don't ever give up. Have yourself those goals and don't give up ever.
Yeah, and you don't have to run yourself ragged. You even if it's just waking up and you haven't brushed off your application for somewhere. That's the thing that gets most people, is they just get comfortable with where they're at, and then their dreams, their ambitions, and everything, it just starts eroding, because a week turns into a month, and a month turns into a year, and a year turns into years, and then they didn't get to where they wanted to get, and they could, if they just kept trying, they could have accomplished it.
And when they say life begins outside your comfort zone. We talked about this the other day. When you're forced to do something that you don't really want to do, you freeze. You just stop. And so you're not doing yourself a favor. You're limiting yourself. You're cutting off your potential, so to speak, by just freezing. And we all do it. Who wants to go do that? And we just freeze. And we go do something else instead of going down and taking care of that important thing. So.
Wonderful advice. Thank you both so incredibly much. I know earlier I told you how humble I am, and for all of you out there, I was pretty nervous having both of these gentlemen on the show today, because I am so enamored with humbleness being around the two of them. I think both of you are great. You do great things for our world and our community, and I'm going to try not to burst into tears again. But you both, keep being you, keep doing what you do, and thank you again for taking this incredible leap of faith and being on the show with me today.
I think I'm going to speak on behalf of both Mark and I.
Because he always does.
It's right back at you, Lizzie.
Yeah.
You are such an inspiration to a lot of, not just us, but the community members. You have no idea how many times we keep running into people where as soon as they hear no, they've already know of you, they've engaged with you, they all love you on that. So it's the same thing to you too. Don't stop. You're doing so many good things.
Because short people are people too.
Yes, we are. Thank you. Thank you, both of you. Thank you. Okay, I'm not going to leak. So for all of you out there, if you would love to join us for Pistons and Props, please do. There are tons of different volunteer opportunities out there that we would love to have you be a part of our team. So reach out to us. We'll have all of that scrolling at the end of this video, so please stay tuned for that. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Hoorah.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on Loving Life Creatively today. We hope you have been inspired by the incredible talent and stories of our local creatives. We're all creatives, right, guys?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's truly been an honor sharing this time with you. Creating is an exhilarating escape that quiets the mind and fuels positivity. When you dive into the creative process, it's truly like flipping a switch that drowns out the noise and fills you with a vibrant energy. Every brush stroke, word, or note is a step towards a joyful accomplishment, making this world really brighter and your spirits always lighter. Creating is truly for everyone. So everybody, keep creating. Be kind to yourself. Really just be loyal to yourself. Keep inspiring and keep loving life creatively. Until next time.